Hi, welcome to the LeBreton podcast. My eye is currently stuck to its eyelid. I'm going to undo that. Thank you. We are starting the podcast now
We
with
are, and
Kathy
it's
LeBreton.
it's tentatively called "Wanna Talk About It." Wanna talk about it because we're gonna get tacos and we're gonna talk about subjects that we each want to vent about and hopefully get to the bottom of some of this shit that's bothering us. Some of it's going to be generational. We've got Alex, who's a Gen Z, and I'm a millennial, or I'm an Gen X, and I've got a niece who's a millennial. We're going to have different guests on the show and hopefully talk about some of the issues of today and hopefully bridge some of this gender and age gap that's going on, generation gap in the ways of thinking, and hopefully bring some new light and some conversation uh, and some clarity to what's going on in the world. And it's going to get opinionated. It's probably going to get a little uh,
Fun.
testy at
Fun.
times. But we're going to do our level best to entertain and enlighten. And I think that we can do this in a way that is satisfying to us and the listeners. And
So, Mom, how was your weekend
how
the
was
other week?
how was my week? Let's start with my week. I
So,
don't want to talk about anything past Monday.
okay,
Let's say
so
that.
thou who we shall not name.
No, we're not getting into that stuff. That we're not getting into that kind of stuff.
No,
No, because
thou.
that kind of stuff is like no personal shit with other people. We're gonna have to be very careful of that stuff because that can really affect people around you.
Fair enough.
One of the
But
things,
I mean,
one of the
like, they
things
do
I
it to
found,
us.
one of the things I found out when I worked in radio, and I realized way too late, is that me sharing personal stories about my husband and my daughter with all the listeners in Moncton might have been amusing to my listeners, but wasn't really so great for my family. That I was oversharing about my personal life.
I kind of
So
like the fact that you shared about my Halloween costume.
yeah, but did you
'Cause,
like it
like,
when people came up to you and would say,
I didn't like.
"Hey, Alex," or "Hey,
I
Anna"?
I didn't really
You
give a
know, I
fuck.
heard
I
about
didn't.
what you
I
did the
didn't
other day
really.
on the
I
radio.
didn't
Your
really.
mom was talking about it.
I really didn't care
No, I know.
because for me it was like, oh
Normal.
yeah,
It was
oh
normal.
yeah, like that's my
Maybe
mom.
that should be our first podcast, is talking about what it was like growing up with a mother who was on the radio and constantly sharing about your life on the
Oh,
radio.
it was traumatic.
Yeah.
Because there was this one girl who straight up wouldn't believe me that you were my mom. Like you came to pick me up and everything, and I think she was just like under the impression that we weren't related. And I was like, what is going on? And she just kind of like made me very uncomfortable.
Mm.
Um, so I didn't end up talking to her. Um, and
But yeah, it can be weird. It can be weird, and I guess I never really thought of it from that aspect when I was on the radio.
or
And
the
I would talk
aspect
about
of I would hear kids talk about news stories and they would make up false things about the news stories, and I'd be like, no, it was two boys that died, not two girls.
and so you felt like you needed to
I had to
set
correct them.
straight.
I had to correct them because I
Yeah.
knew the correct information.
Yeah, and that's
And
another
that's
thing of where I
another
wish that I had
problem.
kept a lot of my work life separate from you, because you grew up hearing me talk to Ev when I get home from work about what news stories I was covering, and we'd have
And then
discussions, and you would be privy to that. And I apologize that I should have probably shielded you from a lot of that stuff. There was a lot of stuff that I would cover on a daily basis that I really didn't need to be letting you in on.
and then there was a lot of stuff with the friend group, like the the information I heard through the grapevine that I'm not supposed to talk about the name, but it was a teacher who did some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That-
I know what you mean. Yeah.
That
Yeah, that kind of stuff I probably shouldn't have talked about. Like I was a news reporter, so I talked.
But I mean, to be
A
fair,
lot of
you
shit.
kind of had to talk about that.
Yeah,
'Cause
but I
it was
didn't
your
need to
job.
talk about it in front of you.
It
And-
kind of sucked.
Yeah, it kind of sucked. But I've realized the error of my ways and that I really, really fucked up with you. I really did in a lot of ways. But I didn't know any better because that's the way I was raised. And I apologize for that.
It's okay. You can't do better than you already
You can't
know.
go back and change the past. But I can acknowledge that what I did was stupid and flawed. And I'm a flawed and stupid person. Or I was. And I'm doing better now.
Mm.
You know? And I think we're in a better space now. Going forward. You know, like you can't, like I said, you can't go back and unring a bell.
Can I be honest about something?
What?
I think my biggest fear coming up with the state of everything
Mm-hmm.
is my reevaluation with my psychiatrist, my new psychiatrist.
You got a new
I
psychiatrist?
heard.
What?
Yep, Dr. Anthony.
You got a hold of him?
You booked him,
No, I didn't.
didn't you?
No, the latest I got a message back today saying that they're full.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding.
Oh,
So
because
I
I
put a
heard he
call-
was amazing.
No, I put a call back out to DUSET.
Fuck.
Hopefully DUSET will get in touch eventually. It's been a week and they still haven't returned our call.
Fucker.
So, yeah, we're back to square one with that.
Great. So I don't have a psychiatrist.
No, because our
Lovely.
psychiatry system, our mental health system is broken.
And I can't
And-
even get into to see Dr.
mean-
Anthony after talking to about
Yeah.
maybe getting back on meds.
Well,
and
because the thing
now
is that
I've fallen through the cracks of the system, and I'm gonna be
No, you're not. We're going
great.
to keep on
This
it.
is
We're gonna
fucking
keep
great.
on
This
it.
is fucking
Because
great,
the
Mom.
reason why Anthony is so full is because there are a lot of people that are needing service and they're not getting it.
God
And so
damn
there's
it.
bound to be another one that's gonna, you know, and I'm gonna keep in touch with them and say, hey, as soon as we can get in, can we get in?
I'm just
you know.
fucking
I
angry.
know it's frustrating.
Because I know that if soon as they diagnose me, like re-diagnose me, if they diagnose me with PTSD, I'm gonna have to stop talking to most of my relatives.
No, you're not.
Like,
No, you're not.
or at least set some hard boundaries.
No, well, who? Who do you need to set boundaries with?
The person in this room.
Me?
The person in this room.
What kind
The
of
person in
boundaries?
this room.
What
I
kind
love
of
you.
boundaries do you need? Tell me, because I'll
Mental
hear them.
boundaries
Mhm.
around things to do with like how you address arguments, basically.
Okay, well, I'm trying
Because
to do better at that.
I know you are. I know you are. And I'm not saying like you're a bad mom. I'm not saying that any of that stuff, because I genuinely I want you to know that you're a good person. That's why I got you the little book, so that you can remind yourself that you're a human
Mhm.
and that you're allowed to feel like that, but like it's not okay to treat other people the way we've been treating each other.
Oh,
and
we've been horrible to
we've
each
been
other.
horrible to each other, and
But-
it's really not okay.
No,
And
but that's been a two-way street.
that has been
That has been a two-way street.
yeah.
And I think when all that changed, for me at least, was when we found God.
Yeah.
You know,
And
because
I
God's
had-
kind of like the referee.
I had
know?
a hard time coming to terms with that, more so than you did. Like
Mm-hmm.
I felt a bit of conviction almost.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't know what it was like to love God,
Mm-hmm.
or be loved by God, because I didn't believe that there was a God to love, really. I didn't know.
Yeah, I kind of raised you away from all
Kind
of
of
that.
atheist, kind of agnostic, kind of
Agnostic.
scientist kind of thing.
Yeah.
The cat is now rubbing up against the camera.
It's okay. Here, come here, Belle. Welcome to the podcast, Belle. No, I mean, I raised you completely away from God, and I really realize now that that was a huge mistake. You see, I had a grounding in it when I was a kid because my mom was Catholic. We went to church on Christmas Eve with Graham and stuff like that. But there was a little old lady in our countryside. I lived out in Belle Isle, and there was an old school teacher, retired school teacher, and she used to pick all of us heathen children up and take us to Baptist Sunday school every week. And she had the big old car, and she would pile us in there, probably about 6 or 8 kids sitting on each other's laps, to get to Sunday school. And she wasn't the greatest of drivers. It's amazing. God must have been protecting us because we didn't end up in the ditch at all. But I got the word early. Like I learned about the Bible stories, and I memorized John 3:16. It's engraved on my heart, and so I had that early on. But then I turned away from it when I was about 12 or 13 because I felt judged by some people.
What's
in
John
the church.
3:16?
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that
Woo!
whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting
Amen.
life. Amen, amen.
Amen,
Thank you,
amen.
Jesus.
I was just making sure, because when people say like a verse is engraved on their heart, I always wondered, do they know the verse they're talking about?
Inside, outside, and backwards, and yeah.
Good.
But yeah. So I mean, I got that early foundation, but you didn't get that.
No.
And I'm sorry for that.
My Bible school was like,
you went to a couple of youth groups
guys,
with some friends.
Do you want to play bingo and ride a donkey? It's the early 2000s. You don't have to do fuck all. In fact, everything's online now, and we don't even know what the online ramifications are going to be of this thing in the next few years.
Yeah, but let's give your 12-year-old an iPhone.
We're going to make it completely unmoderable, and then we're going to throw Coco Melon on your TV, and we're going to make you watch it 5 times while babysitting this one child. That is a true story.
Yeah, no wonder you're messed up, honey. I'm sorry.
I am fucked up beyond belief.
Yeah. Your entire generation. There was a study I was reading the other day that there's a certain segment of kids, 18 to 25, I think it was saying, and I should hunt it up if we're actually going to do a real podcast, that there's a generation in there that you guys are just like lost. You're lost. Like the internet fucked you up, and we haven't done right by you, and that's why you're struggling.
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
Fucking, I got canceled on the internet for what God knows reason. And like, probably because I said something dumb in a chat while I was...
But what does canceled on the internet mean? What does that really mean?
It means that my friends thought I was an idiot.
You're still here. And you know what? Friends can think you're an idiot. That doesn't mean you're canceled. That just means that you don't have those people as friends anymore. You can go out and make new friends.
I feel like a social reject.
Well, yeah, you have feelings. But that doesn't mean you're canceled. You still exist. And you still have a right to exist.
Okay.
And no matter what people think of you, you have a right to exist.
It's just, I always feel like because my voice is affiliated with certain things, that for some reason I'm worse than the system that was built before me. Do you know what I mean?
Can you say that again?
I feel like the societal pressure on me to be a certain way when the world has already been so fucked up before me, to expect me to immediately come into this world and know everything without complete ramification and total ramification for all behavior is batshit insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever did that and then threw in robots is a fucking nightmare and deserves to go to prison.
Robots. Oh my God. Robots. The world. Robots are taking over the world. And you guys are just, you're struggling with your identities.
And
I mean, so many people in your generation
and the
are
friggin'
struggling with your
augmented
identities.
reality, and the augmented
Yes.
reality's not helping. Because then they're building fake personas, and like it's like you can't tell what's real and what's fake anymore, because like
Okay,
they've
here's
gotten
a-
so good at faking things now that like faking things is almost become the norm.
Here's an article from CNN. And now I don't know about CNN, but CNN, according to them, Gen Z is having a harder time than previous generations did at their age, according to new research. But the secret to increasing their happiness may be found in that data. The survey, which was conducted by Gallup in conjunction with the Walton Family Foundation, whoever they are, I should probably look that up.
Oh, the Waltons?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Okay. We'll get to that
I
in
know.
a bit. You can tell me about that later.
Okay.
Maybe that might be another podcast. We're
Okay.
not sure. But they
We are
collected
definitely
data from more than 2,000 Americans from Generation
They're
Z.
the
Now, that's a
Walmart
small-
people.
the Walmart people. So this is a small sample size, 2,000 Americans from ages 12 to 26. So you're in that wheelhouse. You're 21. It is one of a series of 4 surveys about Gen Z. Blah blah blah. What we're trying to do is put together a complete picture of what does Gen Z's life look like, what's important to them, how do they project their futures. The people surveyed, 75% reported being at least somewhat happy, the data showed. The number went down significantly as the kids and teens reached adulthood, however. Gen Z people who are 18 to 26 are less likely to rate their lives positively than older generations when they were in that age range. So in other words, you're more unhappy at 21 than I was. And the analysis didn't do direct comparison, but used previous surveys to assess the happiness levels of Gen Z and its predecessors. 2 factors were heavily correlated with Gen Z happiness: how much time they got for weekend sleep and relaxation, and even more important was their sense of purpose. Happiness was most predicted by a feeling of waking up each day and feeling like work or school is interesting and important. What is important to Gen Z is whether they feel like their life matters and they're making a difference, more so than am I going to work, making a ton of money, getting a big promotion, things like that, he added.
Yeah.
So, but that's true of anybody. Like, if I was working a shit job and I didn't feel like I was really doing a good thing, it would be hard to get up in the morning and to feel good about myself and what I'm doing. I could escape and do other things, and a lot of people my age do. They hate their jobs, and they hate their marriage, and they hate their life, and they escape it by going out and sitting at the bar and drinking, or, toking up and whatever to numb it.
I mean,
right?
I fucking do it. I'm 21, and
but you're 21.
I shouldn't be
life
doing
shouldn't
that.
have beaten you down that much by now.
I shouldn't be fucking doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like already. Like I should be going
Yeah.
out to amusement parks and like doing crazy shit. Like
Or at least hanging
like,
out with your friends and
setting
doing...
off Molotov cocktails or doing something crazy. Like
Okay.
I shouldn't.
Don't be setting off Molotov cocktails.
Don't shut off Molotov cocktails.
It
Although,
says-
if you want to learn how to make one, you can learn how to make one in Abby Hoffman's book. You'd have to steal it, though.
Purpose is more than chasing good feelings. Happiness is not made up of chasing as many positive emotions as possible, said Dr. Chloe Carmichael, a clinical psychologist in New York and author of Nervous Energy, Harness the Power of Your Anxiety. Harness the power of your anxiety. What? Really? No.
That's what I do through my art. You think I don't?
No, I totally get that. It's about having a purpose and understanding that there will be ups and downs as you pursue it. Yeah, that's life. Life's a roller coaster. Like,
Thank you, CNN, for telling us that we need to
Yeah.
basically prioritize our health.
Do we want to make this a first topic of our podcast? Like we're just doing.
We're just doing
roughing it right
we're
now.
just roughing it. We're probably gonna edit this up.
No, I don't
and
think we'll even make this.
We
airable.
won't even.
But this will
will probably air on my channel unedited.
This is just a practice run. But if I can find some articles, interesting articles that we can interject and use as jumping off points to have discussions.
Well, we're already having
that's
a pretty
structure.
good. We're already having a pretty structured conversation.
I know, but for an actual podcast, we want to have structure, and so this is me kind of wrapping my head around how we're going to structure this.
Right.
And so finding some articles.
Well,
pick a topic, find some articles, and then we'll riff on it.
Hey, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Sil has a phone stand, like a tripod.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking we could use his tripod and we could aim it at me and you sitting in chairs.
Okay. Or on the couch.
So we could like choose chairs and we'll...
Yeah.
No, the pictures were good.
Okay.
Oh.
Anyway, what did it stop?
No, Sil sent pictures of me earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the car. I had my new skin color markers.
Yeah.
And I was super happy because for an artist, like a white artist, I don't draw that many people of color. And someone was like, why don't you draw that many people of color? And I was like, because I don't have the colors to draw people of color. They're like, that's bullshit. I'm like, really? You want me to draw a person of color right now? I'll draw a person of color. I drew a person of color with a pen. It looked awful. And that's all I had. And I was like, here you go. Here's your drawing. And they were like, this looks awful. Can I get my money back? I'm like, no, fucking no, because I don't have my markers. Like, fucking nope. Like, and then they were like, well, what the fuck? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to tell you I don't have the stuff to make the art that you wanted me to make. And I'm getting angry because I don't have the supplies to actually do the things that I want to do. And it's... Anyways. Ooh, I like that bar graph. What's that bar graph say?
Well, it's talking about Gen Z and their mental health. And compared to older generations, a greater share of members of Gen Z describe their mental health and emotional well-being as poor or only fair. Researchers also said they found evidence that Gen Z's self-reported mental health struggles are distinct from those of previous generations of the same age. Asked to describe their current mental health or well-being, only 15% of members of Gen Z aged 18 to 26 said it was excellent. That's a steep drop compared to a decade ago. The study found when 52% of millennials in the same age range said their mental health was excellent. And in 2004, 55% of people aged 18 to 26, including both millennials and Gen X respondents, reported excellent mental health. Why was there such a significant decrease? Researchers noted that overall declines in mental health over the past decade may be partially responsible. According to the study, both millennials and members of Gen X report far lower mental health ratings today than they did a decade ago.
Which is insane.
Earlier this year, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said poor mental health remains a substantial public health problem for adolescents, especially among teen girls. So,
and I don't expect the young boys are any better.
No.
Especially that Andrew Tate crowd. Andrew Tate crowd. They died down, but like, where are they? Like, we haven't heard anything from those guys in fucking forever.
About half, 53% of Gen Z students who want to pursue a higher education believe they'll be able to afford it. 40% of Gen Z students also said they worried a lot more about gun violence at their schools. Making enough money to live comfortably is Gen Z's most frequently cited hope for the future, with 69% of those surveyed ranking it among their top wishes. Can you imagine? Our kids are going, oh, I hope I can afford to live. as opposed to I hope I can prosper and,
I hope I can have a family
I
one
hope
day.
I can be a millionaire, I can be a president, or I can do.
They're like, I hope I can afford diapers.
And and
I hope
Mr.
I can
Noodle
afford
someday.
diapers for my children. If I ever have any.
It
If I
really
ever
sucks.
have a home. Because the economy is so terrible. I might just kill myself 8 times. Sorry.
According to the
little
Annie
too
E.
honest.
Casey Foundation, which I'm not really sure what they are. I'd want to research if ever going to bring this out in a blog. I'd want to explain who they are. But they say members of Gen Z individuals born between 1997 and 2012 are growing up in an age of increased stress and anxiety. Some 70% of teens across all genders, races, and family income levels say that anxiety and depression are significant problems among their peers. Like, I don't remember as a kid being anxious or depressed. I remember being sad sometimes, but I was never anxious or depressed. And I mean, I had, I knew there was a girl in my school that was, looking back on it now, I realize that she was a cutter, but that was not a common thing back when I was a teen. That was not a common thing. And if it was, maybe it just wasn't talked about. But I really think it was less of an issue back then. Why is that?
Probably because people didn't have the spaces to talk about it.
Could be. Could be we didn't have the
attention
internet.
around it.
We didn't have the internet, and we didn't have the attention around it. And someone thinking, that's something maybe I should try. Kind of an influencing thing.
Yeah.
That you talk more about something, the more likely people are going to be to explore it. So, when you're 12 and you're stressed out and you're looking for coping mechanisms, and someone says, hey, people cope by cutting themselves, and you think, maybe I should try that.
Don't do it.
No.
Don't do it, kiddos.
But I sometimes think that the more we educate, the more we give options that wouldn't naturally occur. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also it's important to inform on what
is.
might be happening to classmates around you.
It is, but they don't really need to know. I didn't need to know that girl was cutting in my class. I didn't need to know that.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was discreet. It was a thing of, she had she would pick at her cuts and they would start to bleed and she'd get upset. And the teacher would come over and say, come on, let's go out in the hallway and we'll talk, or we'll go down into the office and talk. And she would take her out of the class and we'd go, what's wrong with Sally? But, it wasn't my business. It was none of my business.
Yeah.
And Sally was getting the help she needed. She had the teacher and the guidance counselor. But, it wasn't a thing of what's Sally up to and what do I want to know about that? It was none of my business.
Yeah, but some people really care about Sally's well-being to the point where they want to get involved in Sally's well-being.
Yeah, I know.
And that is
concerning. But as a classmate, it's not your job to be, you need to be concerned about your own things and not concerned about Sally's things. And Sally had some close friends that she probably confided in, and they were good friends and they didn't gossip about her and spread the stories to everyone else. But certainly Sally didn't want everybody in the school knowing that she was going through this.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Sally has a fucking name.
Well.
But whatever.
Well, her name wasn't really Sally.
No, it wasn't.
But I mean, I didn't even realize Sally had an issue until I was older and I drew the dots and went, oh, wow, I bet you that's what was going on. And it would make sense because she was also, I know she had been dating an older boy who was probably very age inappropriate for her. And it probably all stemmed from that kind of thing that she was dealing with in her life. But I wasn't really privy to it. And I didn't really pry into her business.
And you didn't really care because it wasn't really your thing to deal with back then.
Well, it's not that I didn't care.
Well, it's not that you didn't care, but it's the thing of it wasn't. It wasn't.
I had my own shit to deal with.
Yeah, you had your own.
I was dealing with my own issues, but you know, I wasn't manifesting signs of cutting
No.
or anything like that. But had someone suggested to me that, hey, this is a way that, you know, you can cope, I might have tried it. You never know. Probably not. But, you know, I think that sometimes when we
You picked
talk
up
about,
binge eating, and that wasn't.
I think that
You
sometimes when
need to address your binge eating thing if
oh,
we're going to go into this.
my binge eating. Well,
Oh,
I didn't binge eat.
yeah, you did. You hid
Maybe.
peanut butter under your bed. That's binge eating.
I used to
That is totally binge eating.
yeah,
I
I
have
used
binge
to
eat
have a peanut
before.
butter addiction, and when I was a kid, I used to like hoard food in my room,
I
and
used
you
to
know,
do the same.
it was more of a thing of I was embarrassed I'd get, you know, like my mother would give me a hard time for it, or you know, I'd be fat shamed or something, you know, so I hid that shit. You know, and I would eat like, yeah, I would overeat. And,
See, for me, it was I was embarrassed to eat in front of people.
mm,
So I would hide in different rooms to eat my food.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I absolutely hated middle and high school. So I hid in the bathrooms most of the time.
Mm.
Like, and I didn't talk to people. Like, and when I did talk to people, it usually ended in conflict. So I just stick to myself now as an adult.
Mm.
And it's resulted in me not having many adult friends.
Yeah.
And it really sucks because I want to get out there and make friends. And I think there's people there who do care about me. But it's hard to be there for me when I am not well enough to be there for myself. So I guess this is goodbye for the first ever podcast episode
Yeah.
from the Loretten girls.
Good.
The first Talk About It episode.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure having you all.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. This is very rough and kind of just I wouldn't even call it a pilot at this point. It's just this is a rough draft of what's gonna hopefully be an amazing
And if you guys
experience.
like this one,
Mm-hmm.
that means there's probably gonna be more of them.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Anyway.
Good night. You
Night.
have a wonderful night. Have a good sleep.